Dynamic access control is an exciting way to control access to shared data on a server. It does this by giving us additional options such as the country a person is from or the department they're in to decide if they can access the data. Dynamic access control is accessed by opening the Active Directory Administrative Center. Access is achieved by more than just the traditional share and security tabs. In order to set up dynamic access control, we need to edit 5 rules and policies, and we need to edit group policy. Let's demonstrate how all this works. Let's start by going into Server Manager on our server and go to Tools and Group Policy Management. Make sure you're doing this on a domain controller or a server that has the Group Policy Management tool installed. Let's go ahead and right-click on our domain and choose to create a new GPO and link it here. And we'll call it Armoring. We're going to be enabling armoring for Kerberos so the claim types can be turned on for dynamic access control to work. And we'll show you what that means in just a little bit. So we have our armoring rule created. Let's go ahead and edit. From here, we're going to go in the computer configuration, policies, then to administrative templates. Then we're going to go to system and KDC. From here, we need to go to the top, which gives us the option to turn on Kerberos armoring. Let's go choose enable, and we will choose supported. Go ahead and click apply when done. Turning on Kerberos armoring allows us to use compound authentication. Simple authentication would be just your username and password, but compound authentication allows us to use more things like the additional tabs that we'll see in Active Directory. Let's go ahead and click OK, and we'll close our Group Policy Management. Now let's go to Tools, Active Directory Users and Computers, and we'll go ahead and open up one of our users. In this case, let's go ahead and choose the administrator. And from here, you're going to see a lot of information that you may not have known could be useful for dynamic access control. For instance, all the different tabs include information that you can fill in, such as the office, the telephone number, the email, the web page. If we go over to some of these other options, such as telephones, you could put in your home, pager, mobile, etc. And there's even other tabs that you see that contain additional information. In our case, we're going to go over to the Organization tab, and we're going to choose Department. And let's go ahead and choose Executives, and we'll click Apply. So what our dynamic access control is going to do is, if it sees that a user is a member of the Executives under the Department line in the Organization tab, they will have access to the data of this particular folder and files underneath it. That's pretty complex, or as Microsoft calls it, compound authentication. Now that we have edited our group policy, we need to go back into the Active Directory tools, and we're going to open up the Administrative Center where I can show you how to set up the rules and policies. Let's go ahead and click OK, minimize. Now we'll go to Tools and Active Directory Administrative Center. A lot of people haven't used the Administrative Center before and may be new to this experience. So let's take a look around a little bit. On the left-hand side, we see our domain, and we also see all the different organizational units underneath it, which is very similar to Active Directory Users and Computers. If we click underneath that under Dynamic Access Control, we can see 5 different rules and policies. Now, I've gone ahead and filled in a policy and a rule for each of these 5 different types because this part is not going to be on any certification test. However, the different 5 policies and rules may be on the certification as far as what they are and what they do. So let's take a look at the different access policies and rules. If we double click, you can see I created a policy called the department policy. This all ties back to the executives under the department line that I showed you earlier. So if we double click on our policy, we can see that this department rule is going to be in effect, and it's going to affect the executives, which I'll show you in the next part. So if we go back to Dynamic Access Control and we go to our Access Rules, we can see there's our department rule again. And we can see allow everyone with full control to this particular resource. Let's go ahead and cancel. Go back and go to claim types. And there is our department rule again. Let's double click. And we can see the department string has been selected. And under the claim type, it is a user selection rather than a computer selection because we have applied this to our user under the department tab. Let's go ahead and click cancel. Let's go back. Let's click on resource properties. And under here you see this department, and you can see that it is enabled by right-clicking, and you can see the disable option is there. The one above it, if you right-click, the enable option is there, and you can see the icon is slightly different. Let's go ahead and double-click on department. And we can see that the department property specifies the name of the department to which the resource belongs. And it is going to be used for authorization to get into our data. Let's go ahead and click cancel, and we'll choose the last option, which is the resource property lists. And there's our department list that was created. The other global list was there by default. And we can see that department is once again listed under resource properties. So all 5 of these rules and policies work together to give us access to the executives under the department option in our Active Directory user properties. Let's go ahead and close the Administrative Center and take a look under our File Explorer about some new options that you haven't seen before when we did not have Dynamic Access Control enabled. So if we go to our Shared Data folder and right-click on it, we go to Properties, we can see under Sharing that it is a shared folder. And under Security, we can see who has access to it. In this case, our administrator has full access. But now you can see a brand new tab that wasn't before. It's the Classification tab. So this tab did not exist prior to creating and editing all of those 5 rules, as well as enabling Kerberos Armory. So this allows us now to have the department have access into our folder as long as they are members of the executives under that department line. So let's go down to where it says executives, and we'll see the value at the top turn from none to executives. Let's go ahead and click apply. And now the executives value under the department line allows anybody with that value to have access to this folder. We'll go ahead and click OK. And that's how compound authentication works. Dynamic Access Control allows an administrator to secure access to shared data resources in a much more granular and secure way than simply letting users enter their usernames and passwords.